Hello everyone. Last time I showed you how to import your file from Word into Scrivener easily using hashtags and other symbols in order to separate the different sections. Now today I'm going to show you how to export it back out to Word, again with minimal headache. Here I have an example from yesterday, from the previous tutorial, where we imported everything and it was set up. If you can see, chapter 1, all my subsections, chapter 2, subsections, and it was like that all the way down. And I only took a couple of minutes to go ahead and change these guys to folders. I just right-clicked folder. That's the quickest way for me to do it. And then I selected all my subsections that I know go in this chapter because they were already in order, and I just quickly slipped them in, and that was done. Now the other thing that I did for all of them was that I didn't want them labeled like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was automatic when I imported it in. And Scrivener will do that automatically for us when we export it out. So what I wanted to do was, see these little pages at the corner of the folder? That means there's text. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that, and just like last time, I'm going to use the shortcut F2, and I'm just going to tell it to rename it. I'm not going to delete anything that's in here. I'm actually finding it useful to have them there. And I can just tell Scrivener not to export that particular text out from the folder. So I'll do it to this one, F2. And I can do it to all of them. You can also go to Documents. Here we go. It is Documents. Set selected text as title, F2. And again with this one, F2, and you can do that all the way around. A nice little shortcut is to select all your folders, like that. They will all come up, and you can just go right down, highlight them, and F2, all the way down, really quickly. If you make a mistake, don't worry. You just go back and just redo it. And you can change them however you want. I did that for my whole section. It really only took 3 minutes to do all, I believe, 26 sections. So here's my fixed manuscript. All I did was, again, change the folders and the titles. And this is how I want it. And we can open and close them as we like. And that's all I needed to do. You can make any corrections you want to make. This can be any font, any color, any size. It's not going to make a difference when we compile it. So we're going to go to Compile. And here we can see the levels. And we want to go to Formatting. It usually will end up on Contents, and we can tell it, please include this or not include. So to Formatting, and I'm going to select Paperback. Paperback novel. And it has some presets for me that I happen to like, and I can just adjust them a little bit. So here, if I select level 1, you can see that all the folders are highlighted. If I want the text that's inside the folders to show up, I click on this little box that says text, and it will put the text in the box. If I don't want it to show up, I just simply make sure that that box is not selected. If I want the Mindful Things Night Run choices, all these little titles that I put in for my chapters, if I don't want it to show, I just click it off. It will not show those subtitles. If I click it on, it'll put it back in. This chapter 1 here, that is automatic, that is set by Scrivener. If you want to change it, you click on section layout. Subsequent, this is Scrivener version 1, 2, and 3 are slightly different. So if I don't want this chapter here, I can take it out, or I can change it to something else. Let's just change it to a symbol. If you change it to that, then it's no longer there. You can take it out entirely. You can put it back in. This right here, this is a placeholder. If you want to be numbers, you can change it to N. I rather like it spelled out, so I'm going to change it to the $ and the T. Put it back. So this is entirely customizable. I'm also going to do to prepare to use my macros so that I don't have to go through every chapter heading for my table of contents. That is another tutorial. I'm going to put in my symbols here in the prefix, and I'm also going to add one space and a slightly different sequence on the bottom. You can use whatever sequence that you want as long as it's not a word that is in your document, because you don't want to replace any of your words with our macro. All right, so I put this in here. So there's a prefix and a suffix, and we're going to change this to Word Doc X before I forget, and level 1 and level 2. So if I select level 2, all of my main pieces of my document are in level 2. It's all highlighted for you, so you don't have to memorize it. And here we can change how it looks as well. I'm rather happy with it the way it is. I like how it's set up, so I'm not going to really adjust anything there. For page settings, you can set it to wherever you want, 6:9. If you hit custom, here it's a standard like 5:8. So we're going to leave it like that, but you can change it to any width or height that you want depending on the size of your book, which is really convenient if you want to look to see what it looks like when it's going to be printed out. Here is all the metadata that will fill in automatically. I did not fill any of this in, so these little placeholders are not going to do much but say that it's split test. That's what I've called my file. But you can also, this is page number. I don't want it in the footer. I can just easily put it there. And if you forget the placeholder for page number, it just fills it in for you right here. You can put it back if you like. I like mine on the top. You might like yours on the bottom. But it's not too big of an issue because we can always change that in Word if we want. Now, as far as format, I've chosen the print version of a book, paperback novel, but you can choose Kindle, EPUB, what have you when you export. All right, I think I'm done, so I'm going to compile. Oh, sorry, I forgot separators. Separators, you can tell Scrivener how you want your folders and your files to be separated between each other. So if I was doing a manuscript, I wouldn't have empty line here. I would use this little hashtag mark. But because this is more near a final stage, I'm going to have empty line put between adjacent text documents so that my scenes are separated by a blank line. Folders, separated will be inserted between adjacent folders. So any folders that are right up to next to each other will be a page break. And empty line between folder and text separator, and a page break between text and folder. That works for me. I like how it lays out. Sometimes you might have to experiment to decide what it is that you like. Oh, and formatting also I forgot to mention. I like the page padding of 8 lines. I think it looks really nice. It's standard and it's convenient, especially when I compile and I want to import back into Scrivener. So I'm going to compile, and I'm going to save as this file down here. And here's the file. If you notice in the header, it's just the project title that I have labeled Split Test. That would be the title of your novel or your collection, you can always change it right here in Word doc. Here's the important piece right here. This is the prefix and the suffix. And I can go down and then we can check and see that everything has. So here's the end of one chapter and the beginning of the other. There's the 8 spaces and the start of a new chapter, chapter 2, and then the subtitle. And again, the end of another chapter, and then there's 8 spaces, and then the chapter, and then the subtitle. And it's pretty consistent all the way down. What I'm going to do now is if I want to create a table of contents without too much pain, all I have to do is I'll go to View and my macros. And here are all my macros. I have a macro to delete this prefix. I have a macro to delete this suffix. I have a macro to replace all of my double spaces. I learned how to type on an old typewriter, so I still tend to often put a double space after periods. So I have a macro to take care of that for me. I also have a macro to change the main header to heading 1, and I also have one for subheading for the subtitle. Now before I do that, because this is a new document and I did not use a template, I have to go back and I have to go to Home, and here's my heading 1. So if you notice, the heading 1 is going to change into something blue, and I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this little arrow here, and I'm going to redefine heading. So there's this little arrow here. I'm going to open that. I'm going to modify. And I'm going to change it to Times New Roman. I think I'm going to make the chapter 16, and I am going to make it bold, and I'm going to center it, and normal color. Alright, so I'll hit OK. So now my heading 1 is redefined as my new default. I'm also going to do the same for heading 2, because that's what I'm going to change this to. Heading 2, going to modify, and I'm going to change that to normal color. And I want it to be a little smaller. I think I'm going to have it be 14. I want it to be Times New Roman, and I want it italicized and bold. Okay, and I'm going to click OK. And I can close this. And I'm going to go back to my macro, View, Macro. And I'm going to change all my headings with these 2 macros. Now I have set up a parrot macro that's going to run all of these for me all at once. So I'm going to do that. There we go. It'll take a minute. I found no double spaces in my document. Click OK, and everything's all set. All my headings are back to normal. Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 5. So it all worked out. Next time I will show you how to modify your table of contents so that it looks the way you want. I hope this tutorial helped you out today. I'll see you next time.